Well, welcome to January, New Year, 2018. Wake up Newport. We're excited to start the year off with a great city staff top-level individual today. And don't set on my coffee, thank you. So we're pleased that you're here. My name is Rush Hill. I am chairman of the Council's Civic Affairs Committee. I worked on that all last year, so I would say it correctly. And we're really pleased to have you here this morning. It is going to be my distinct honor, beyond comprehension, of welcoming our self-acclaimed business mayor. He was a little late this morning. He had to comb his hair, but please welcome to the lectern Steve Rosansky.
Thank you, Russ. Wow, good crowd this morning. There's plenty of seats still if you guys want to fill in. So before we get started here, there's just a few introductions I want to make. And first, I think I'll bring up our sponsor. Dee Dee, where are you? You're here. Dee Dee, why don't you come up? She's with Credit Union of Southern California. They're our sponsor of this series for this past year. And I think your sponsorship's coming up, though. We had to talk about renewing.
We just did.
Did we? No, the sponsorship. Anyway, Dee Dee's with the bank. They have a branch up here in the credit union. Uh-oh. She's with the credit union, and they have a branch here in the library, between the library and City Hall, and a few others around Southern California. So she's going to tell you a little bit more about what they do. Thank you.
Good morning. So as Steve said, I am the branch manager here at the library branch, and we have a new branch opening in Costa Mesa in 2 weeks. So that will be a sister branch, and I will also be managing that branch. So please come in and see us. Everybody kind of concentrates in the new year on health. Well, we would like to help you concentrate on your financial health. And if there's anything that we can do to help you in that journey, we would be more than happy. So please come in and see me. I would love to meet all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Next person I want to bring up is Patrick. Why don't you make your way up here? Patrick's one of our superstars here at the Chamber of Commerce. He's a part owner and manager of the UPS store over on 17th and Irvine Avenue in the Westcliff Shopping Center. He's also one of our biggest supporters of the Sandcastle contest. He got a bunch of UPS stores together, and they really helped with a great sponsorship of our Sandcastle contest in October last year. But he's going to tell you a little bit more about what UPS does. He provide the pizza and the what are they, bread knots, cinnamon knots? Cinnamon knots, whatever they are. They tasted good, whatever they were. So here we go, Patrick.
All right, thanks, Steve. Yeah, how about that, pizza for breakfast? Throwing it back to the high school, college days. So I'm Patrick James. I'm with the UPS store in Westcliff Plaza. There's 3 of us in Newport Beach, but we have the location at 17th and Irvine. Fresh Brothers, who is also our catering partner for this morning, they're in the plaza with us. So if you enjoyed the pizza, definitely give them some business too. Clearly, just coming off the Christmas season, you know UPS is synonymous with pack and ship, but there's so many other things that we do at the UPS store, from having a notary and a live scan operator at all times. Our location is one of only 2 in Orange County that are open on Sundays. So if you need service on Sundays, we're open 11 to 2. Quick window there. Still want to be able to sleep in, but make it to the beach. So, but we're there to meet your needs. Mailbox service. One major service that a lot of the general public and consumers aren't aware that we have are our printing services. So whether it be business cards, brochures, banners, pretty much any tangible print media that you would have a need for your business, we have that capability to produce in our store immediately, depending on the medium or process, or can be shipped directly to you. So if you haven't, visit upsstoreprint.com, and you can find our location or your nearest location. You can submit jobs through online print. We get it at the store. We can produce it for you. You can come pick it up. Also, Orange County has local delivery as well. So definitely keep us in mind for that and all your other print and business services needs. And we'll hopefully see you guys again this year for the 57th Sandcastle competition. So, all right. So thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Patrick. We also have with us a few of our city dignitaries, or actually even some from out of the city, so I'll just quickly mention them. This morning, joining us is former mayor and city councilwoman Diane Dixon. Diane. Councilman Scott Piotr is with us this morning, in the back. Two former mayors, Ed Selich and Keith Curry. Ed and Keith. We have a couple of Civil Service Board members, Robin Grant and Howard Herzog. Robin's my sister, she'll admit it sometimes. She did bring me some real family pastries this morning, so I appreciate that. We also have with us Parks and Recreation Commissioner Laird Haze. Laird's also an NFL football referee, and I thought he was going to maybe be reffing the Rams game this Saturday, but apparently he's having a little bit of hip replacement done or something, so best to you on that, and hopefully we'll see you in a couple months back when you're... You what? You'd rather be at the game. Well, we could probably wheel you onto the field, I don't know. You wouldn't be any worse than some of the players down there, right? From the other team, not the Rams. The library director, Tim Heatherton, is here this morning with us. I want to thank Tim for allowing us to use this room. It's really, it's great that we can meet here every month, and he supports this meeting, and we appreciate that. We also have, as I said, a couple from outside this. Oh, wait, we have our police chief. Where's John? John back. Thanks for coming, John. We have a couple visitors from outside the city. First, I'll mention Fire Chief from Costa Mesa, Dan Stefano. Dan, back there. And a director over at the Irvine Ranch Water District, Pierce Swan. We're speculating. The what? Inside the city. Well, that's true. They do serve the district's outside. I mean, they're headquartered outside, but they do serve Newport Coast. We're speculating that you're one of the longest serving elected officials in Orange County. Is that true?
As Scott said, from the middle of the Carter administration.
Middle of the Carter administration. Uh-oh. So I think I got them all, hopefully. I also want to thank Sheridan Hurst for joining us this morning. She's director of the DECA program. I always get them confused. DECA program over at Harbor. And we have a bunch of Harbor High School DECA students here this morning, as well as some from the FBLA program over at Cornell Mahar High School. So I want to thank you for joining us. And with that, yeah, sure, why not? And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to our esteemed moderator, Rush Hill. Thank you.
He always finds a way to get even. Well, this morning we have, I think, a real hot topic, every pun intended. I had to remind you that was a joke. In case. But Chip Duncan, our fire chief, we're very excited to have Chip here. Chip's got 32 years, I believe now, in the fire industry. Started out with CAL FIRE, and within a couple of years came to Newport Beach. He's been here for over 30 years, and he's held probably just about every position that you can hold in the fire department, from holding the fire hose to coordinating the operations. The exciting thing is, I think, is the number 28. 28 years since we appointed someone from within the field, I think, which gives credit to our former fire chiefs of building the team that they built, that we've got an incredible group of men and women, and in fact, maybe Chip will talk a little bit about all the advancements that took place just about a month ago. We're very proud of our fire department, and we're very proud of all of our first responders. I understand that it's the fire department that eats the donuts and the police department has cake now, but that was a little transition, but maybe we'll hear a little bit about that as well. But I give you our fire chief, Chief Duncan.
Well, the Steve and Rush show is a pretty tough act to follow here. I mean, I don't know. But I'll tell you the one thing, probably the hardest thing, and I know some of us back here have actually had to do this, when you have to recognize all the dignitaries coming in and write them down. You saw Steve up here feverishly writing them down. That is one of the hardest things ever when you're in charge of that. When we do a fire department function, we have one person we call the accountability officer, and that's his job to write that down and introduce people. So please give Steve a big round of applause for doing that. That's a tough job. Okay, so with that being said, we will get started here. So obviously this is one of my favorite topics to talk with the fire department. I could go on, and I do have, 3.5 hours to go through all this stuff. And so if I hear the band playing, I know it's time to get off stage and go somewhere else, right? So going back to one of our former fire chiefs, Tim Riley. You may remember Tim Riley, very, very prolific fire chief, had a lot of good things he did for us. One of the things that he brought forth that has stayed with us is safety, service, and professionalism. Those are our operating principles. And the way this translates for us, it's kind of like that's our motto. The Coast Guard, Semper Paratus, the Marine Corps, Semper Fidelis, whatever those things are, this is kind of our motto, and we kind of base everything we do on these three principles: safety, service, and professionalism. And basically what this means is safety always and uncompromising for the public and ourselves, service to help and benefit those we serve, no call too small. Whether it's a leaky water heater or a 4-alarm fire, we're going to come out and solve your problem for you. So one of the things that comes up periodically is, the fire department, you always hear fires are down. They've been, trending downwards since the middle of the 1970s. That's true. Okay, so are we really truly the fire department? Well, we're always going to be the fire department because that's our traditional name. But we were sitting around one time talking about if we could really rename ourselves, what would we call ourselves today? And a couple of the things that we came up with was the Department of Positive Outcomes. That was one of my favorite ones. The other one, probably the best one, was the Division of Incident Stabilization. I love that one. Okay, so the bottom line is, you call us, we're going to come out, we're going to solve your problem. Professionalism, always act with good judgment and polite behavior to all we encounter, both internally and externally. So these are the things that we live by daily, and then we make sure that when you start in the Newport Beach Fire Department, the first day you come to work here, this is instilled in you. This is wrapped around your DNA, okay? And the day you walk out of here, it doesn't change. So like Rush alluded to, I'm going to give you a little bit of history in the fire department here to kind of tell you where we've been and where we're going. We've been around for a long time. We started in 1911 with an ordinance by the city council. Even back then, the city council was very supportive of public safety, as they are today, and we appreciate that. We actually became a paid fire department in 1927. And I think we are probably the oldest fire department left. I think Orange might have us by like a year or a couple of months, but Santa Ana used to be one of the oldest, and Santa Ana is no longer. So we're up there with being one of the oldest paid organized fire departments in Orange County. Does this look familiar? We still have it, or we have a copy of it. This is basically the 1920 American LaFrance sits at Station 4 on Balboa Island. So kind of a fun fact, we tried to buy this exact engine, and this is probably about 20 years ago. We found it was in Oregon, and this is 20 years ago. They wanted $80,000 for this engine. Yeah, that's a big bake sale, right, to get that engine? So what happened was the community collaborated, and we actually found an engine that was similar to this that came from Los Angeles City, and they restored it. If you ever get a chance to go to Balboa Island and look at that fire engine at Balboa Island, our museum is down there, take a look at it, because that thing has been restored, pristine. That thing's come up on 100 years old, and it still runs most of the time, okay? So that's a good thing. Our department history, you'll notice here that we have a long history of innovation as far as medical. If you go back to the 1920s, we used to carry things called an inhalator. And if you come to Fire Safety Day in October, we actually have one of our old inhalators left. It's a big suitcase looking thing, and it was basically for drowning victims, and it would be used to ventilate the drowning victims. So we've always kind of had our toe in the water, with, so to speak, with medicine, even back in the early days of the fire service. Advanced first aid came along in the 1960s. We embraced that. And then in the 1970s, we became emergency medical technicians. And then probably one of the most important things that ever happened was in 1975, we graduated our first class of paramedics. And I'm a history guy, and I love history, and there's a couple points in history I'd love to go back and be there when they were talking about certain things, and I would love to be in the room when all the old fire chiefs were sitting around and some guy walked in and said, "Hey, what do you guys think about doing this paramedic thing? Giving firemen drugs and IVs and, being able to shock people. What do you think about that?" I'm sure that was a very lively and spirited conversation, okay? Because you're talking about people that all they did was they fought fires. So I applaud those old fire chiefs for being really intuitive and looking down range and seeing how we could better serve the public. I mean, the fire service back then, that was a huge leap of faith for us to do that. So I would love to be there and hear that conversation. I'm sure there was some very, very interesting dialogue on that. And actually, kind of a fun fact, I am old enough that I actually worked with some of our first graduates from paramedic school. And they had some pretty funny stories about the early days of paramedics. 1996, we implemented our transportation program. We're one of 3 agencies in the county that actually transports. And there's a benefit to that, which I'll talk about a little bit later in the program. But that was a big change for us. We started transporting in 1996. And then in 2014, we noticed the need that we needed to increase our capability to transport because our call volume was going up. Obviously, adding additional staffing was not going to be feasible, so we came up with a way to staff 2 additional transport units when we get busy on an as-needed basis with existing staff. And that program is called our Surge Ambulance Program. It's been very, very successful. We've changed it up a little bit. We changed it around a little bit. It's still, even though it came out in 2014, it's still kind of a pilot program. But we're always looking at improving. It's been very, very successful. And that's given us the opportunity. So when we get really, really busy and our 3 transport units get committed to calls in the city, we can activate these 2 other transport units and augment our transportation system. Very, very, very successful. 38. Anybody know what that number is?
When I was born.
1938? AD, BC? No. Okay. I actually kind of stole this from the cops when they do the quiz at the police breakfast. So John, I'm gonna give it up right now. I stole this from you guys. This is the number of firefighters you have on duty every single day, 24/7, 365. All right. So we have 38 firefighters on duty every day, 24/7, 365. We cover 26 square miles, and Newport Beach is very diverse. We've got hills, we've got the bay. We've got the beaches, we have wildland, we have high-rise. It's very, very diverse. We even have a slice of a freeway that goes through our town. So we've got a lot of challenges when it comes to public safety. We have a population of 88,000, but we go up to 300,000 in the summertime, on a given day in the summertime. And I think all 300,000 people are all in the peninsula, from about Balboa Pier to Newport Pier, right? And we serve the city through 8 fire stations and strategically located throughout the city. And we'll talk a little bit about that too. This is probably no surprise. You probably heard this through different mediums that we respond to medical emergencies. Approximately 80 to 88% of our calls are for medical assistance. We're very aware of that, and our system is designed to deal with those medical emergencies, but we also deal with a lot of other things outside those medical emergencies. Like I said, those 38 people on duty every day are your standing army. So we have an earthquake, an airplane crash, a structure fire, a wildland fire. We have to have the ability to switch gears and change and apply those resources to what kind of problems that we have out there as far as an emergency. I just got these numbers in from our dispatch, and it takes a while for them to actually break down exactly what areas the calls are in, but more than likely, I'm going to take a guess here that medical aids have gone up. Our fire calls traditionally have not changed. They stay pretty flat. They haven't gone down. They haven't gone up. They go up maybe up or down, maybe 2 or 3 or 5 a year, but there's not a whole lot change. But if you look from 2013 to 2017, we've had an increase of 19% as far as our call volume going up. And I know it says in-home jurisdiction, out-of-home jurisdiction, and in California in general, we have a thing called automatic aid. We have a very robust automatic aid program where if my good friend Dan Stefano needs someone to come help him out in Costa Mesa, we go to Costa Mesa and help him out. Vice versa. If I need Dan to come into Newport Beach and help me because my guys are busy doing something else, Dan comes into Costa Mesa and he helps us out. That automatic aid program, we kind of take that for granted here in California, but when I was in Texas for the hurricanes, a couple years ago, they don't have that automatic aid thing. They don't cross that city boundary. It's like, nope, that's Houston, and we're in Austin. We're not going down there. In California, we do that every single day. It's not a big deal. We have a borderless thing. You need help, we're going to come and help you out. So we do break it down to how often we go out of our jurisdiction, in our jurisdiction. But remember, if we're going out of jurisdiction, that also means that our sister agencies are coming into our jurisdiction to help us out too. So our call volumes have definitely gone up. That's trending upwards. I remember in 2012 when I took over as the operations chief, we were getting all excited because we're going to hit 10,000 calls a year, and we're kind of blowing by all that stuff here pretty fast. And in 2017, we have 12,145 calls. That's combined. And we just haven't had a chance to break down exactly where all those calls are, but I'm going to tell you those medical aids pretty much are the ones that increased. Our average response time in 2016, I haven't got the 17 number, that was 3 minutes and 42 seconds, all right? So we're looking at ways to always to improve that with our turnout time, the call processing time. Technology has helped us a lot. One of the things we've also have implemented too in the last year or two is a thing called automatic vehicle location. And that's a huge leap forward. We're basically using GPS where the computer sees where we are, the computer-aided dispatch computer sees where we are, and it will grab the closest unit. All right, so it's not some preset boundary. So if I'm driving back from a call and it sees I'm closer to another unit, it's going to grab me for that call because I'm on the road and I'm driving. So just like anything, it's a new system. We had a couple bugs. We're working it out, but all in all, it's working pretty well, and I think it's going to continue to decrease the amount of time it takes us to process, dispatch, and get our folks on the road to get out to you when you need help. Just kind of quick overview, and this is where it gets a little bit confusing, and at the end, if I've confused you, please ask me the question so I can unconfuse you with how we do this. So we have 8 engine companies in the city, 8 engines. Engines carry water. We have one at every single fire station that are here. They're staffed. There's 2 ways we staff them. They all come with 3 people on them. 5 of our engines out there come with a captain, an engineer, the guy that drives, guy or gal that drives, and a firefighter paramedic assigned to the engine. And we call that a paramedic assessment unit. One of the innovations that we were pushing for that we actually got through the last couple of years is we wanted to get a paramedic, at least one paramedic in every single fire station. So when you call us, we can get what call initial advanced life support to you right away. So if you're laying on the floor with a broken leg, broken arm, and we need to do some pain management, we can get there right away and start giving you some pain management. If you're having any kind of medical emergency, we need to intervene with medicine, we can do that with our paramedic assessment unit. So that's 5 of our engines. So all of our outlying stations outside of Lido and Fashion Island have a paramedic assessment unit with 1 medic on that engine, okay? We still have 3 engines that are non-paramedic assessment unit engines that have a captain, an engineer, driver, and a EMT firefighter that is not a paramedic on that engine. But the reason that we work that out is I have a paramedic unit with 2 paramedics, 2 firefighter paramedics in that station too. So every station you go to has at least 1 paramedic in it, all right? So that was a big change for us. We were really trying hard to get that 1 paramedic in at least on every station. Ladder trucks are giant rolling toolboxes. We have 2 of these, one at Lido Station and one at the Fashion Island Station. These guys here are really my technical experts. When I have, like I said, we just don't do fires. We do technical rescues. We had some guys that were doing window washing and the scaffold failed. Talk about some scared looking guys hanging onto a scaffold like this off the side of the building. They were really happy to see us when we showed up, okay? We get a lot of cliff rescues. We work closely with our lifeguards on the cliff rescues. People do goofy things over on the cliffs and we got to go after and get them. They do everything from technical rescues with ropes, extrication. You've heard about the Jaws of Life. You've all seen that. They're vehicle extrication experts. These guys are my technical experts when I have a problem and I need it solved. When I was a battalion chief and I have an incident and I had a problem, these are the guys I grab and say, go make my problem go away, and they're really, really good at that. So 1 at Lido and 1 at Fashion Island. We have 3 of these, 1 at Coronel Del Mar, 1 at Fashion Island, 1 at Lido. It's a paramedic rescue ambulance, but more importantly, it's really a mobile intensive care unit. And this is staffed with 2 firefighter paramedics. All of our paramedics are firefighters. And the reason why this just came up the other day, this works, the dynamic staffing model for us. You guys all heard of the large fire that we had in Anaheim, right? The Canyon 2 fire. I was listening to that call on my radio, and I knew this thing was going to go south in a hurry. And they started losing structures, and the fire was bumping up against all those neighborhoods, and they were screaming for help. Well, we have an automatic aid agreement. We sent units up to assist them. Well, the nice thing is we sent our initial response up there. We were going to recall people to staff back when our people left. I still had my effective firefighting force was still in place because I still have my firefighter medics on my paramedic transport unit. So that dual function with their firefighters and paramedics gives the battalion chief, the guy that's in charge of that shift, a lot of flexibility with staffing and moving things around. Very, very flexible and dynamic. So that definitely was a benefit. $3.8 million. What's that? No. I don't know if I can say yes, no, maybe so. So one of the things back to transport, when Chief Riley looked at transporting, one of the things we looked at was how could we generate some revenue and keep revenue in the city. And if you have an outside provider like an AMR, which is a very big company, they're stationed in Colorado. Their corporate headquarters in Colorado. It's in Colorado Springs. And then Falk, which is that owns Care Ambulance, they are a European company. They're in Denmark, I believe, or Holland, one of those places. And that money basically leaves the city. So Chief Riley, when he put this program together, we wanted to have the ability to capture revenue that was leaving the city and keep it back here in the city, keep it in the city, and put it back into the city, basically the general fund. And we came up with was our transportation. With the way it works, and I've learned a lot in the last year as the fire chief about how billing through insurance and all those things work, more than I ever want to know. But the important thing is you can't bill your insurance unless you transport. So the fact that we transport gives us the mechanism to recover costs somewhat through our billing. And the way that we do it is we apply for some different programs. We have a thing called the Intergovernmental Transfer Program, which basically it's kind of like a grant. We have to give them some seed money, but we get 33 cents back on our dollars. So we get some money back there. Our paramedic subscription fee, we get money back from that. GMT, which is a Medi-Cal program, we get money back from that. And then the majority of our money comes back from billing insurance. But at the end of the day, we could not bill your insurance unless we transport. That's state law. So the ability to transport really makes we can't bill unless we transport. So it's a very interesting, fascinating, complicated thing. And I've learned a lot about that here in the last year. And my EMS division chief isn't here, but she's had to give me some schooling on how this actually works, so I really appreciate her. Before, when I was a fire operations guy, I got the fire stuff down. The billing thing was a little bit of a learning curve for me. EMS Innovations. One of the things we've always prided ourselves on here in Newport Beach is we do not sit around waiting for the next new thing to come up with in pre-hospital care. In my personal opinion, the most underutilized portion of our medical system is pre-hospital care. Paramedics are very, very underutilized here in California, and there's a lot of reasons for that. You go to other places in the United States, paramedics do a lot of different things. Honestly, there's a lot of things we could be doing out to take the stress off the system, but it's just like anything. It takes a long time to turn that aircraft carrier and get it going in a different direction. One of the things that we did that was very, very exciting was called the Community Paramedicine Alternate Destination Study. So what that means is right now, if you call 911, our paramedics show up, they have to take you to Hoag Hospital because that's a paramedic receiving center. All right? The downside of that is if you've gone to the ER and got a bill from the ER, that tends to be a little bit pricey. Okay, so it's expensive, but it also impacts the ER with a lot of people that really probably shouldn't go to the ER because it's a minor injury. So what we did with the Community Paramedicine Alternate Destination, we looked at using an urgent care as an alternate destination to transport patients that fit the criteria not to go to the emergency room. And it worked out really, really well. All right? Unfortunately, when we took it back to the state had some issues with it, so I think we're going to retool that, take a look at it, analyze the data. It's my hope that this does not die because I think this is really, really important. As a former paramedic, taking somebody to Hoag ER with a cut finger and walking into Hoag, and if you've been to Hoag, you know how busy it is there. I'm like, this poor person is going to be here until next week to get their finger stitched up. Okay, I can take you to urgent care and get your finger stitched up or whatever your problem is and get you in and out and not make you pay ER type money. It's a good thing for you. It's a good thing for us. It works for everybody. So this is something we need to keep our eye on. And so if you hear community paramedicine destination study or anything like that, please support that because it was a huge thing and we really want to push that. And I'm hoping it's not dead because that was a huge thing. The other thing that we did that was pretty phenomenal was the Health Information Exchange Act. That we're the only fire department in the United States that did this. All right, and you would think in today's world, with everything being electronic, right, that everybody can talk to each other from different places, so no. What this did was, so if you are from Colorado and you fell down and you broke your leg here in Newport Beach, we could access your health history, your medical history from Colorado. And the nice thing is, if this system works, if you're from California and you break your leg skiing in Colorado, the paramedics in Colorado can access your health information. Because when you're sick or you're injured, what's the last thing you want to do? Answer a bunch of questions, right? And if you ever had us take you to the hospital, we ask you a lot of questions because we have to. So this cuts down how much information we have to get from you in the field, and it tends to be more accurate. And we go to the hospital, we can transfer the information electronically to the hospital. It was a huge step forward, and we're pretty proud of that. We just implemented last year a thing called the Trauma Intervention Program, which is pretty huge. And this, we're partners with our police department on this. We try to get this for a long, long time. And what this is, it basically is for the public. So in the past, if we went on a really horrific call where something bad happened, we get done, we take the patient to the hospital, the patient's family's still there, the spouse, the family, whatever else. We really aren't set up to deal with the family after something bad happens, all right? Perfect example, a couple years ago, we had that little boy that was struck by the trash truck, right? Really, really bad call. Well, the problem is we had to leave mom and dad and all those folks up there. There really was no way to deal with what they had going on. The Trauma Intervention Program, basically, we can call our PD dispatch. PD dispatch will launch TIPS volunteers out. TIPS volunteers are trained to come out and deal with trauma like that. They can hook people up with resources. These people are fantastic. And this is a huge thing. Like I said, as a former paramedic, one of the worst things I ever did as a paramedic, I remember we had a lady, her husband was end-stage cancer. We knew he was dying, and we'd gone on this guy a couple times. And when he finally passed away, I remember we're there, and we're filling out the paperwork, and we're done. The police officer shows up to do his part of the paperwork, and I knew once they were done with that paperwork, she was going to be there alone with her spouse of 50-plus years. And I had nothing I could do to really help her out. Her family didn't live here. She didn't have any friends close by. Can we call anybody for you? No. Can I call clergy? Nope, nothing. So this poor lady was here all by herself. Now my guys get in the radio. They call dispatch. Dispatch calls out these trauma intervention people, which are fantastic. And one of the, Marty lives here in Newport Ridge. She's one of the kind of the central people in this thing, and she's fantastic. So the trauma intervention program, we're pretty proud of that. And then surge ambulance, I talked about that, so we won't go back to that. Quickly, our fire stations, we have 8 strategically located throughout the city. Station 3 is Fashion Island. You guys right next to the PD. Station 2 is Lido Station. We're going to look at relocating that here in the future. The council supported us on that. We appreciate that. We're going to move that station, which was built in 1952 as a temporary fire station. I think we've got our bucks out of that station, so we're going to move that down to 28th Street. Station 1 is the station down in the peninsula. Station 4 is probably the most famous station, right? Balboa Island Fire Station, right? Station 5 also is going to be rebuilt, and that station was built in 1949, and that has definitely served its time. It's time for that station to be replaced. Station 6 is up on Irvine Avenue. You'll notice that they're rebuilding the apparatus bay because that station was built in 1959, and fire stations back then were a little bit smaller. Modern equipment will not fit in that station, so they're actually rebuilding the garage at Station 6. Fire Station 7 is our tower, our training tower. It's up by the airport in the Santa Ana Heights. And then we have beautiful Station 8, which is up in Ridge Park that serves Newport Coast. So strategically located. And kind of a fun fact here too is back before the days of computers, when they picked where they're going to put a fire station, there was no science involved with where the fire station went. We did a standards of cover a couple years ago to look at if our fire stations were placed in the right places. And for the most part, there's a couple areas that we could probably better serve. For the most part, these stations actually are in the best location to serve the public as we do today. So kudos to those folks back then who picked those places to build those fire stations. So I got to show you some pictures of fires, right? Because it's a fire department presentation. So you guys know we do fires. Bay Club. Wildland fires. Last year was a busy fire season. You guys have all read about fire season. We had 87 strike team and task force responses this last fire season. This fire season was something I have not seen in the 32 years I've been on the job. And I started with forestry. So this was a very, very busy fire season. We had 3 of our units, 3 of our engines assigned to the Thomas Fire. We also had additional people assigned to overhead positions, were like staff positions up there, and they were gone almost an entire 14-day deployment. They were gone, and they were working hard. Crazy fire season. This fire was 2 years ago. It was in San Marcos, And if you look down the right-hand corner, that's my car. I actually was on this fire. Me and Chief Boyles were on this, assigned to this fire as strike team leader and a trainee. And you can see off the left, there's about a 250-foot fire whirl moving behind these houses over here behind us. And you can't see me, but I'm standing in the middle of the cul-de-sac looking at this thing going, man, this is going to burn up this whole neighborhood. This is not going to be good, you know. But fortunately, we made a good stand here. We protected the neighborhood, and the fire whirl blew up the hill. And it turned out to be a good day. We protected all these houses, and it was a good thing. Boat fires. I mentioned my truck guys are my technical experts. For a while there, we had a big problem with cement trucks coming down Newport coast and flipping over. Unfortunately, this guy was in the wrong place, wrong time. This flipped over onto him. To make it worse, the cement out of the truck, it was almost like a James Bond movie where the cement was filling up in the truck and we're trying to get him out, right? And they got him out in time. He actually was okay, but other than being really scared. So it took a while to get him in and out of that truck.
A little stiff, though.
We just kept letting him down. You know, water cures everything, right? I'm a fireman. So if you ever want to get an award in the fire service, it's for saving animals. So this is actually Chief Boyle's call, Paul, and he's right here in the back. So he actually got an award from PETA because the lady and her dog, right down in the middle, was on Channel 7, Copter 7 had it on there, and the lady's dog fell down. They went down and got the dog. You can kind of sort of see the firefighter down here in the bottom down here, rescuing the dog off the side of the cliff. I also mentioned we work closely with our lifeguards. We have a cliff rescue, kind of do a two-pronged approach. We come down, we drop down on top of the call. Our lifeguards come in underneath. So we've got the waterborne rescue element. You can see the lifeguard on the rocks right there. And the lifeguards are down here making contact with the patient. This happens more than you think. People get down and they think they can do it. They can't do it. The tide comes up. They get stuck. And then Chief Williams' guys have to come in and help them out. So we go down, stabilize what's going to go on. Sometimes we'll actually take them off and put them on the boat, one of our lifeguard boats, and take them out. Happens quite frequently, especially in the summertime. We were talking about this. This came up again the other day. We just had, the Weather Channel loves this rescue. They've come out probably about 5 times to interview us. This happened 8 years ago. And and this happens, people start digging holes on the beach, and our lifeguards are on top of this. They see you start to dig a hole, they come over and tell you to quit digging that hole. Unfortunately, this guy, I don't know what's going on that day, but he got covered with sand and we had to dig him out. And fortunately, he was buried at the bottom of the sea. He's probably about 10 feet down. About 10 feet down, they went down, they got him, and they saved him. So yeah, this happens, I wouldn't say frequently, but infrequently. So here's just a gambit of all the interesting things we do outside of fire. And again, you'll see lifeguards in here digging alongside our firefighters. So the other half of the fire department is our marine ops. 10 million. What do you think 10 million is right there? Chief Williams would like that, yeah, okay. That is the number of beach visitors we get every year. 10 million people come to our beach every single year. And trying to keep all those people safe from all of the crazy places they come from and all the crazy things they do is no small task. I mean, I've been here for 30 years on the job. The first time I actually ever got to see them do a rescue, I did a staff ride with Chief Williams, and the lifeguards in the tower, and they're watching this guy on a boogie board. And they're talking watch, this guy's going to get caught in a riptide. He's going to go out here, he's going to go here. When he gets here, we're going to jump out, we're going to swim out, and we're going to get this guy, we're going to bring him in. So I'm watching him, and the guy gets caught in the riptide. They jump in the water, they swim out, they get him right exactly the point they're going to get him. They grab this guy, they pull the guy in. It was like, wow, this is like this whole pre-orchestrated thing. I'm thinking, come on, did you guys really, this is fake, right? You guys did this for me because I'm riding along. But no, they actually, when it made this rescue, is pretty amazing. And they do that every single day like that. So keeping 10 million people safe at the beach is no small task. So we get 10 million beach visitors. We do 4,000 ocean rescues, 118 boat rescues and assists. Kind of thing to tie in here too, one of the things we just started doing here recently, just in the last couple months, we've been backing up our harbor master and the folks in the harbor. We've had our lifeguard boats out helping out in the harbor. We were out there for the boat parade. We've been out there helping out and available 24/7 for them if they need us with our boat. Our lifeguards are out there working with the harbor folks. I was out with them on the boat for the Christmas parade. It was nice. The boat parade always has a couple people that don't want to go with the program or they're not going to be compliant. And our lifeguards very nicely, politely talk to them. got them to comply. There are beach ambassadors. They do it on the beach side, and it was nice to see our lifeguards in the harbor doing exactly what they do on the beach in the harbor, talking to people and getting people to go with the program. And the best part was the Coast Guard Auxiliary actually got their boat wrapped around a mooring, poor guys, and our lifeguards actually had to help out the Coast Guard Auxiliary guys to get their boat unstuck. So that was pretty cool too. So we got one up on the Coast Guard. So they also run medical aids. Our preventive actions here too are something that should be noted. When you have 10 million people that show up at the beach from places that don't have a lot of water, you need to go up and wise them up. Like, I wouldn't go out there because this is a riptide or the surf is big. That's no small task. So making the time to get down and go talk to those people to prevent them from becoming a problem is a huge thing. And doing it politely and nicely is also a monumental task. So they do a great job at that. Obviously training, we have a training division in our lifeguards. That's one of the favorite things, jumping out of the helicopter into the water. It's pretty cool. But they have to be responsible for all the training. And we staff up big time with our seasonal lifeguards. And you can ask HR, when we start hiring all those people back, HR is working really hard to hire back all of our seasonal staff, and the training division in lifeguards has to retrain all these people. That's a huge thing, getting those folks back up to speed, ready to go, and put them in a tower. So we get cranking into gear when we bring back all of our seasonal. That training division is really, really busy. And then what would it be without CERT, right? Somebody asked me the other day, kind of jokingly, what happened if you had a zombie apocalypse in Newport Beach? And I said, well, I've got CERT team people that are trained for zombie apocalypses, so we can handle that, right? 340, that's the number of CERT volunteers. We have active CERT volunteers that we have. And this program just gets better and better. I'm really proud of this program. Wherever I go, I was putting gas in my car. I live in Carlsbad, and I was putting gas in my car the other day, and this guy comes up and he saw my Newport Beach baseball hat on. He goes, "You work in Newport?" I'm like, "Yeah, I work in Newport." And he goes, "You guys had the best CERT team." The guy knew everything about our CERT team. And I go, "How do you know? Do you live in Newport? How do you know so much about our CERT team?" He goes, "No, I'm a CERT guy here in Carlsbad." And he goes, "And our program is nowhere near where your guys' program is." So Matt Brisboy is the master of the CERT program, and he just keeps building that Green Army bigger and bigger, and that's just a fantastic program. We're really, really proud of it. And that is it. I don't hear the band playing. Cool.
Okay, we have time for 2 quick questions. Come on back up.
What do you think? I didn't keep the name straight.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you for being here and an excellent presentation. I'm here because I'm terrified.
Well, I can actually answer that. And obviously your concern is warranted, all right? Buck Gully is what it is down there. But part of what you said, it's called a very high hazard, VHF, it's the very high fire hazard severity zone. And it wasn't Chief Riley, it was my predecessor that looked at that and changed that. And that was within the scope of the law. He could do that based on the factors that are down there. So he did change it. But if you go back in time, we actually tried, and I'm trying to think of the year, but we tried to increase the amount of fuel management that went on down in Buck Gully. And the council actually tried to do that. And the residents down in Buck Gully, that neighborhood down there, were the ones that pushed back, that did not want to manage that vegetation or cut that vegetation back. So we did try, the fire department and the council did try to get that corrected, because we'd identified it as a problem, and that just didn't happen. But the one thing that I'm going to have to correct you on is we do watch that, and we have one of our life safety services folks, Steve Michael, handles our fuel management vegetation project, and he follows up with those people. And if people complain, people have complained because of the fires, and we've sent him down there, and they look and they confirm that those people are in compliance with the code. So we do follow up and keep an eye on that. I was working the day of the Laguna fire, so I was there. I was on Coast Highway. So I completely understand your concern. I'm aware of it. We know it, but we have to follow with the code and comply with the code. We did try to change it, but the one thing is we don't let people get away with not complying with the code. We do follow up, but it's like anything. It takes a while to get them to comply.
Stan, last question.
Okay, I was at 2 places that your men showed up. One was over at Swan Belcourt, and the other was Mariners Church. You seem to come with a big fire engine
that is a great question. You know what? We get that question all the time, right? So the way that we look at this is when you go to the emergency room, and how many people take care of you in the emergency room when you go to the emergency room? Probably. So basically, you never been in the emergency room? You told me you're born in 1938. You never been in the emergency room? So if we break it down two ways. Yeah, that's great. I want some of that luck. So the way it works out is, like I said, we have 8 fire stations throughout the city. There's an engine station at each of those fire stations. So when the call goes to 911, it goes to the police department. The police department public safety answering point answers the call. They ask you which emergency it is. You say, I'm having a heart attack. They hit the button. It goes to the fire dispatch, which we share a joint fire dispatch up in Anaheim with Anaheim, and it's called Metro Cities Dispatch. They dispatch us with the computer, so the computer sends the closest engine of 3 people to get there as quick as they can, because a paramedic unit with 2 guys on it may be coming from somewhere else. Okay? So the engine gets there first. Their job is to stabilize the patient. Okay? So they get there first. They stabilize the patient. The paramedic unit with the 2 firefighter paramedics on it shows up with the paramedic transport unit. They get there, and we plug them into the patient treatment team. So everybody there has a specific job. One person's charting, one person's doing patient treatment, one person's talking to the hospital on the radio, another person is moving the patient around. So my point is, when you go to the emergency room, you have probably 5 to 7 people dealing with you in the emergency room. We're basically bringing that emergency room to you in your home or where that medical emergency is. Remember, that paramedic unit is really a mobile intensive care unit, so we do err on the side of caution. There are some times when it's a cut finger and, what I have 5, but the thing is we cancel people really quick. So if it's something minor, we identify that and we cut them loose real quick.
Who gets the bill for that?
Your insurance?
Suppose you have no insurance.
If you have no insurance, then
They just leave you there.
no. No, you can't do that once. If you have no insurance, then there's a way to work that out too. We just don't throw you to the wolves with no insurance. But fortunately here in Newport Beach, most people have insurance. Yeah.
Insurance for covering the fire engine or just the paramedic?
When you call 911 for a medical emergency, both things are tied together. It's tied together. There's no separation between the fire engine and the fire engine and the paramedics are all one. Doesn't change.
Okay. You can catch Chip. You can catch Chip afterwards. I think that certainly the lesson is that it's not just a bunch of men and women that pull fire hoses around and squirt water. It's quite an organization. It's quite a coordination effort of very, very unique challenges that we have, and they're the group that handles it well. We do have an insurance program in this city. You're absolutely foolish if you do not sign up your home or your business for the ambulance program. I think it's ridiculously inexpensive. It's $60 a year. They put it right on your water bill, and if you have that insurance and the fire department shows up at your home or your business, anybody that's in your home or anybody that's in your business will be transported, and it'll be at no charge to that individual. And so that's a very dynamic program. So thank you, Chip. Incredible presentation, incredible department. Our fire, our police, you can see why they're number one, and you can see why we have such a high quality of life in this city. Now, I'd like to dismiss everyone, but I have one more responsibility, and that is bringing back our business mayor, whatever his name is, Steve Rosansky.
You'll be happy to know, Rush, that I did make a New Year's resolution. I'm not going to talk about your weight or your age this year. I promise. So I want to thank you all for coming. There's one person I rarely introduce here, but integral to this meeting, Pam Smith, our Membership Services Director. She helps me set up all the food and everything, break it all down, clean it all up, and she takes care of all of the members and all their needs. So thank you, Pam. Is Jim still here? I'd introduce Jim too. Oh, there he is. And Jim Villers, I'd like to introduce him. If you don't know him, you should know him because he's our new membership director. If you're not a member of the Chamber of Commerce, you should be, and you should talk to Jim about that. We do have a few, we're actually, I can't even believe how busy we're going to be this month already. So there's no rest here after the holidays. We've got a lot of great things coming up. For those members that are here or potential new members, if you're a member for less than a year or a potential new member, we have a new member mixer coming up. It's not a general membership just for those people, but it will be at Pelican Hill on January 16th. It's always a great place to visit. We always have a great turnout there. And so hopefully you can join us. You can talk to Pam about that if you, or Jim, if you're not a member and want to get on the guest list for that. We're also, the next day, we're going to be working with Hoag Hospital on a blood drive at our offices. So if you're interested in donating blood, I think it's from 10 to 3 at our offices on Von Carmen, 4343 Von Carmen Avenue. So you can find out about that hopefully on our website and sign up online for a time to come in and donate blood. That same day, we're also going to be having our business luncheon at the Capitol Grill, which is a great place to eat and meet. And so that's over in South Coast Plaza, Capitol Grill. On the 18th, Rush will be leading the Government Affairs Committee meeting. Our guest speaker will be City Councilman Will O'Neill, and he's have a few interesting topics to talk about. There's no flyer back there, but you can. It's only open to chamber members, though. You have to be a chamber member to come to that meeting. And it is at our offices. We're limited to about 30 people, so if you want to go, you want to sign up early for that. On the 25th of the month, our monthly mixer is going to be at Muldoon's. It's always a great place to meet and greet over in Fashion Island, and we always have a good time over there. One of our biggest events of the year is going to be the next night on the 26th, the boat parade dinner and auction for the Christmas boat parade. We put on this big 5-night boat parade, and it covers the whole harbor, and everybody comes down and enjoys it for free. Unfortunately, it costs us money to put it on, so this is our big fundraiser for the boat parade. So if you can make it out to that, great. We'd love to have you. You can sign up register online for that. And if you're a business and want to donate an item to our auction, we're more than happy to receive that too. So please, you can talk to me about that afterwards, or Pam as well. And then last but not least, our next Wake Up Newport meeting is going to be February 1st. We're going to have a repeat speaker. We haven't had him since, I think it was about 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago. John Campbell, former Congressman John Campbell, great speaker. You really want to come and hear what John has to say. He gives you pretty much the unvarnished truth about what really happens in Washington and the people that he knows there, and his opinions of who's doing a good job and not doing a good job, and where he might see our country going over this next year. So definitely want to encourage you to come to that. It's going to be a great talk, Congressman John Campbell. With that, hopefully you found something in all of that you can join us for. Love to see you in the coming month, and have a great rest of your week, and see you next time. Thank you.